So both of our carbs are now assembled. What I have over here is the left side carburetor attached to the backing plate, ready to go. And then we're going to put the right carburetor on second. And I want to point out a couple things to you before we actually mount the carburetors on. So we have this kind of like horseshoe shaped flange here. This is what connects the left side carb to the right side carb. And actually, if I actuate the carb, see how that guy moves. This little slot here is where our sync screw attaches, and ideally it fits under there like that. There's a washer and a spring, and it fits between these two. So I'm going to get them linked up, and I'm going to attach a carburetor to the backing plate here, and then we're going to do get the sync adjustment done. So I'll do my best here to get it lined up. I don't know how great you guys are going to be able to see this. Get on here? No, not gonna happen. I don't know if there's a great way to do this or not. There it goes. Alright. See how, if you guys can see it from there? See how the button is there on the fork? And we rotate it over. You can see how our spring washer on the top side, that's where we want it to be. We'll worry about the adjustment after we get the carburetor bolted down. So I've gone ahead and I've bolted the one carburetor to the backing plate, and I've used blue Loctite on the threads. I'm going to get this one started, and we're going to make sure we have all the pieces aligned properly before we put some Loctite on these threads. And the reason I put the Loctite on the threads is because, well, things tend to vibrate, and these screws are notorious for backing out. I'm just going to put this in here. Just for you to feel the seat, and back it out of here. Feel the seat, back it out of here. If you look, see how the carb has a little bit of wiggle to it when it's loosened up? I want to make sure that the linkage between the two carburetors is working properly. And so I actuate it. I'll tilt that better so you guys can see it in the camera. I want to make sure that the carburetors snap close like that. I call it like a mouse trap before I even snug these guys up. So I'm going to give them a little bit snug, a little bit snugger. Test it again. When you have carburetors on these backing plates, if you have, we just have two here, but if you have, let's say, 3 or 4, depending on the bike you're working on, it can affect how this linkage works, and you want to make sure that linkage is acting properly. That feels pretty good right there. Alright, so I'm going to keep this one a little bit tight. I'm going to back this one out, and I'm going to put some blue Loctite on the threads, and that way I know it's not going to come out. So I'm using some blue thread locker here. All I'm going to do, put a little bit there on that one. Go ahead and put my screw back in. And once I get this one snugged down, I'll do the same thing to the second screw. These two are already done. And then we'll go ahead and get our synchronization set. Alright, that's what we want. So that's good throttle action there. So, alright, let's do the synchronization. And I'm going to rotate the carburetors that way so you can see a little bit better. So there's 2 levels of synchronization that we're going to do on these 360 carburetors. We're going to start off with what we call a bench synchronization, and what that is we're trying to make these two butterflies to be in about the same exact position when we start. Once we actually get the carburetors on the bike and running, we do a vacuum synchronization, but this one gets it pretty close. Now, if the butterflies were way off, for example, the bike would have a really hard time starting, so we want to make sure they're as close as they possibly can be. In doing the sync, ideally, air cleaners would be back here. This would be your engine over here because this is the fuel running into the cylinder head. So here are our main butterflies for that. I'm going to set the left-hand carb first. The left-hand carb is the static carb, meaning it doesn't move doesn't move in the synchronization. It is the right-hand carb that actually adjusts in the synchronization to match the left-hand carb. The left-hand carb also is under the influence of the idle speed screw. And if I tighten that screw up, you can probably see that butterfly on this carburetor starting to open up there. So we're going to set the sync on the left carb first, and then we're going to go to the right carb. So we open up this butterfly here on the carburetor. You'll see at the very bottom of the venturi here the little tiny holes under the butterfly. Let me point them out to you if I can. See these little tiny holes right in here. The butterfly kind of covers up. Right, those are going to be, we're going to use those as a reference to place our feeler gauge. And what we're using for our feeler gauge is a piece of guitar string. I like guitar string because it is very consistent diameter. It also doesn't deflect, it doesn't get distorted. So I'm going to take the guitar string, which I line up kind of between those holes there, and I'm letting it pinch close with the butterfly. If I tug on the string, it's not going anywhere. And so I'm going to pull on the string, keeping some pressure on it, and I'm going to slowly tighten up my screw here, bring the idle speed up, and when I find the spot where the string just wants to pull out, I'm going to stop. Pulling, turning. Right there. Okay, that's my spot there. Let me open them up again, just to do another test. Make sure we're in the right spot. Guitar string is there. Kind of pulls out. I might go a hair more. The whole point of this bench sync is to try to get the butterflies in the same approximate position with one another. All right, let's draw this maybe just a little bit more. There it is right there, I can feel it. Alright, we're going to leave that one put. We're going to do the same thing over here on the right side carburetor, but instead of adjusting the idle speed screw, we're going to be adjusting our sync screw right here. That's going to be our adjustment. We're going to do the same exact exercise. It's easy to do on the bench now. It's a lot harder to do when it's on the bike. So we'll try to get as close as we can on the bench. And I've already gone ahead and loosened up our sync screw here. That nut's loose, lock nut's loose, and the screw is pretty loose. So we'll set up and do the same exact thing. Same exercise here. The carburetor up. Put that guitar string in there. See if we can get it in the same spot between our holes, just like that. Just go do that. Same exercise. I'm putting some pressure on the guitar string. I'm going to pull on it, and we're going to find that spot where it just wants to pull out. Don't go that direction. Let's go the other direction. That's it right there. About right there. Let me double check it. Yeah, it feels good. Okay. That means that both of these butterflies are in the same relative position on the engine. So I'm not going to mess with them. I'm going to lock that the nut down between these two. Right here. Bring that nut down. I'm going to lock it with my my sync tool. The sync tool here has the screwdriver tip on it and the socket in. So I'll do that. I'll actually have to flip it around to do it so you guys can see it. Let me guys get in here. Like that. This is where this tool comes in handy. I'm going to hold the screw in place. Make sure not to move it. I'm just going to lock the nut down. That's it. Carbs should be in rough sync with each other, so the bike should start up fairly well. Last piece of the equation, I'll go ahead and reattach my choke. Let's see here. That way with it. Just like that. Slide the screw. And we'll bend these tabs back in place here. Like that. So something that people often overlook on these carburetors is this screw here. What this screw is a stop screw on the butterflies. So as you give the engine full power, so let's open the butterflies. You can see that finger there hits the screw. All right. Now, what does it actually adjust? So I'm going to flip the carburetor over, and you can see it. So here are our butterflies, right? As I open them all the way, it hits the stop screw. But you also can see that the butterflies don't open completely horizontal in the bores. So make sure to check your carburetor that the butterflies open all the way. In fact, we had a bike here not that long ago that was never set on, and these things didn't open up all the way. So I'm going to adjust the screw, make sure those butterflies are completely opened, and when I'm happy with the placement of it, I'll tighten that nut down and be good to go. Well, let's put it maybe right there. Take a look at it. Let's see what that got us. It's not bad. In fact, they're probably a little bit overbore. So I can come in here with this. Something right about there. You guys can see that a little better. So they both open nice and perpendicular. That's what we want. So I'm happy with that. In that position. Just gonna go ahead, lock that nut down with my 7mm. Stop is set. The doors open up all the way. Alright, this set of CB360 carburetors is rebuilt. They're done. They're ready to go back on the bike and actually do a vacuum sync, but this should get them pretty close to start. Again, this is Brendan at commonmotor.com, common-motor.com. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel. If you need help with your bikes, drop us a line. We'll get you taken care of.